How's it going, everyone? Badger here. And, in the hustle and bustle of Christmas, this article passed me by. And it's one of those articles that when I read it, once I stopped laughing, I knew I had to do a story about it. And I'm going to intro, I'm going to try not to enjoy it too much and just really get into what we've all known for quite some time and what many of us have been screaming for years, that this continued pushing of the message and agenda over story and character, well, you go woke, you get broke, or whatever variation of that phrase you want to go with. And here we have this article. Disney is worried that woke is ruining their brand after consistent flops. And I know woke is a trigger phrase for a lot of different people for a lot of different reasons. I like to think of it as just a catch-all. It's an umbrella term for a couple of different things that just takes too long to explain. We'll break it down a little bit more in this article. The Little Mermaid, Aladdin, The Lion King, Mulan, and many more told the kind of magical stories that stayed in our hearts, along with catchy music that could get stuck in our heads for days. This period is often referred to as the Renaissance era, and many suspect that these movies are loved by women everywhere because Disney successfully captured the brilliance and timelessness of femininity. Something they wouldn't know a damn thing about now. I'd also say those were timeless classics because not only did they capture the brilliance and timelessness of femininity, they had a lot of traditional gender roles that shockingly are appealing to most people, including nuclear families and heterosexuality, which, ooh. And yeah, these were loved by kids. Shocker, I loved Disney for a lot of different movies and cartoons, all of them, live action, the parks. I was excited when Disney first bought Star Wars. That's how naive I was. And obviously, this website is it's called EV Magazine, so it's through a female perspective. But there's a reason I chose this article over some of the other ones. But let's go back to this. Jasmine was seductive and required her man to work for her. Ariel taught us about sacrifice and trust, and Mulan was both brave and family oriented. All of the princesses had their own personalities and opinions, but they each made room for a prince to come in and sweep them off their feet. None was too proud to reject a man. Oh, cut to Rachel Zegler and the Ariel where they're like, we don't need a man. No, this is about them realizing how awesome they are. These traditional Disney films were never political. Remember that? And the themes were always centered on universal, relatable stories that brought people together rather than driving them apart. We all remember. Pepperidge Farm remembers. The box office remembers. The banks remember, and the stockholders remember. However, Disney has certainly lost its way over the last couple decades. They've lost their touch at producing hit movies that resonate with both young children and adults. And I would go on further. As has been noted, Disney overall used to be and is a female brand. Nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying what it was. It's a female brand. That's who they market to. It started off with young children. As those young children get older, the boys, they left. They went to things like DC, Marvel, Star Wars. The girls stayed because Disney princesses. It was obviously, it was their whole marketing. Disney knows how to market to girls. That is why, as they've said, originally they bought Marvel and Star Wars to begin with to bring in more boys. And then they turned them all quickly into girl brands because they hired people that didn't understand that you could do both and that girls liked it as is. And it was, here we go, getting ahead of ourselves. That is the big, and that's what this article is sort of touching on, is that, well, let's just keep going. Disney movies have taken a turn for the worse. Turning Red, the Disney Pixar film of 2022 that was acclaimed for its heartwarming narrative and representation, did not achieve high commercial success compared to the other Pixar films because they got rid of John Lasseter. With a global box office gross of only 20 million against a production budget of 175 million, it ranks among the biggest box office bombs of 2022. The supposed reason for its underperformance is attributed to its simultaneous release on Disney Plus. This strategy allowed audiences to view the film at home, significantly affecting its worldwide box office earnings. However, it left people wondering if it just wasn't good enough to draw its audiences. And I can prove this is the case because Five Nights at Freddy's was released at the same time on Peacock and in actual theaters, and it made money. First, because it had a reasonable budget, but also it was loyal to its source material and it didn't alienate its fans. So people went to go see it. And also, by the way, if anyone cares, because Disney sure pretends to, it had a female director. But I don't see any puff piece articles championing those. But you will see plenty of articles blaming people for Nia Long's horrible Marvels movie. Nia Costa, sorry, Nia Long, that's an actress. Very good one. Anyway, the Disney animated movie Strange World also faced a significant box office shortfall with an estimated loss of 147 million in 2022. A notably woke aspect of the film is the introduction of Disney's first openly LGBTQ teenage character. But I would say, in and of itself, having an LGBTQ plus, I'm surprised they cut it off there, but an alphabet character is not woke. It's how, if that's all the character is and that's all they talk about and that's the only reason for being there, yeah, that's woke because that's pushing agenda, which is instead of, it's again, they're false characters. They're there just to push something instead of be a character that is important to the film. uh Character who discusses his same-sex crush, and I'm sure they cut all this stuff out for the Middle East and Asia and other things. The film's underperformance is attributed to various factors, including its inclusion of sexuality discussions, which deterred many parents from allowing their children to watch it. Some critics suggested that modern parents, more informed through social media, may choose to avoid content with inappropriate sexual themes for the children. Yeah, because shocker, most parents or guardians, when they take their kids to the movies, they don't want it to start a large, insane social conversation. Some kids, are not ready for some conversations. Every kid is different. The last thing they need is a movie or a school teacher talking to their child about sexuality. The film's underperformance is attributed. Okay, we talked about. Similar issues in the past were observed with Pixar's Lightyear, which included a gay kiss that again was probably edited out for all these other countries, and initially underperformed at the box office. And I would say that the vast majority of that was because you didn't have Tim Allen as Buzz Lightyear, and all that BS about, well, this is the actual Buzz Lightyear, and Tim Allen was just the voice of the action figure. No, no, no one cares. No one's buying that one. We all know it's because he's a Republican, traditional straight male, doesn't push the company line. However, what he considered inclusive was just seen as annoyingly woke to the general public. Parents have generally never been on board with showing their children progressive content, regardless of the political message companies like Disney are desperately trying to send. And we know why. That's because of their ESG scores, because of all these investment companies that will give. That's how they've survived and keep doing this, even though they lose monies, because they keep getting money from those companies. Elemental, a Pixar movie, actually defied initial poor box office performances to become a significant hit. Released in, I wonder what they consider significant, but released in June, it had the worst opening in Pixar's history with 29.6 million in domestic ticket sales. However, the film, which cost 200 million to produce, gradually gained momentum, earning nearly 500 million globally. It currently ranks at the ninth top grossing film of the year, surpassing Marvel's latest Ant-Man sequel, which lost money, so that's not saying anything. But this was an anomaly compared to the rest of the Disney flops in the last 2 years. And hey, there might have been something decent in Elemental. I didn't watch it, but as we've also always said, it's entirely possible for good story elements, characters to transcend. So even if there is messaging in it that's a little on the nose and might even be detrimental, if it's good enough, people will overlook it. But if that's all it is, if all it is messaging, you're dead. You're done. It's over. Disney has again experienced a box office bomb with its Thanksgiving release Wish. And of course, the irony there is most people are actually agreeing with the villain because it would be ridiculous to give everyone their wishes, as we saw in Bruce Almighty. Uh, and there's also, as a film threat, Chris Gore and Alan Ing have a bunch of insiders that actually worked on that, and all these Pixars coming out just to talk about how uh, infected, for lack of a better term, all of these companies are with that woke mind virus we keep hearing about. And that's why all the talent has just been pushed out. Disney says it has lost some focus. I would say it has generally lost all focus. And as Elon has said, it is infected by the woke mind virus. Activists control Disney. Activists control all of the franchises. We've seen what they've done and what they will continue to do. If you think it's over, no, this is them tacitly admitting that they're having some issues. 2024, wait till you see what's coming out. Wait till you see. Disney has disclosed that it invested a staggering $965 million in four high-profile projects in 2023, which unfortunately turned out to be significant flops. All of them. All of them. The only movie that made money was Guardians. Everything Disney lost over $1 billion on these movies right here. Ant-Man, Little Mermaid, Indiana Jones, Secret Invasion. And most of that, by the way, forget the fact that people didn't go to see them. If they were reshot so many times, the CGI sections were redone so many times. Because again, they don't know how to make movies anymore. They used to know how to make movies, and then it was like, well, they just don't know how to make television. I'm convinced they don't know how to make anything anymore. This revelation comes amid a cost-cutting initiative led by CEO Bob Iger, who started all this to begin with and blamed it on Chapek, who returned to lead the company. And some would say he never really left because he didn't actually leave. He stayed in that office. Iger emphasized the need to reduce production costs, acknowledging the exorbitant expenses involved in creating content. Case in point, they filmed 8 episodes of the Daredevil show before realizing it was horrible and canceling it and firing the writers and directors, and not canceling it, but redoing everything. Starting from ground one. I'm keeping the actors, but all the new directors, all new writers. Uh, and then, yeah, here's the bull that Bob tries to shovel. In early November, Bob Iger said, at the time the pandemic hit, we were leaning into a huge increase in how much we were making. And I've always felt that quantity can be actually a negative when it comes to quality, which is true, but also, it doesn't matter how much food you're making, little or a lot, if all of your ingredients are spoiled and rotten. And that's exactly what Disney is. It's filled with spoiled and rotten ingredients. Typically, the budgets of movies and streaming shows are kept confidential, as studios usually lump these costs in their overall expenses without detailing individual project expenditures. However, Disney's production activities in the UK provide a clearer picture of their spending due to the unique financial reporting requirements in that country. Studios operating in the UK must set up separate companies for each production to avail a tax rebate of up to 25% on their expenditures. These companies are required to file finance. So due to all of this, we know that they've lost money. For example, in Marvel Studios, Ant-Man and Wasp, despite spending a hefty 193 million on pre-production and filming, the movie opened to mediocre reviews. Yeah, because you always have to add in marketing and all their reshoots. And yeah, Disney acknowledges that going woke hasn't worked out so well for them, and that's putting it politely. And the culture wars on its operations. Yeah, they should have never taken on Ron DeSantis. They lost their special land around Disney World. This admission was made in its annual financial report filed with the Securities and Exchange Commission for the fiscal year ending on September 30th. The report highlights various aspects of Disney's performance and future risks. Disney employs about 225,000 workers worldwide and emphasizes its commitment to creating a more inclusive and diverse workplace. Boy, do they. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with any of that as long as all those people there have this actual skill for the job that they're working. I don't really see a lot of people complaining about the inclusive and diverse workplace of welding, of underwater welders. I don't see anyone complaining about the diversity or the inclusivity of the NBA. This commitment aligns with its diversity, equity, and inclusion (DEI) objectives, which focus on reflecting the life experiences of its audience and supporting diverse voices and creative and production to that mythical modern audience. Financially, Disney reported revenues of 88.9 billion for fiscal 2023, marking a 7% increase from 2022, which was an all-time low. Despite this growth, the company has reduced spending on film and TV content, cutting it from So that strike that just happened was the worst idea ever for the writers, because now they're going to get that cut from streaming, and now they're seeing that their numbers are abysmal, and it's all over. So all the things that they wanted, they being like Marvel and even DC and all the announced projects for many companies now, they can get rid of all of them. They don't have any flack because they can just go, well, it was because of the strike. I mean, there's a reason that Ironheart, Riri Williams, has been done since 2022, and it's still not coming out for another year. If they could cancel it, they would. But now they can delay it as much as they want. Trust me, we'll hear of other things they are going to cancel, and they'll just blame this. Disney's involvement in the culture wars and public debates has had widespread effects. Indeed, it has, but they're all bad. The company acknowledges risks related to misalignments with public and consumer preferences, i.e., they pissed off and alienated the majority of their fan base across the board, which affects demand and profitability across various segments. And this is basically what they've all done. They've pissed off all the loyal money spending people, actual consumers, because of their activism. And now the only people they have are the SEALs, the ones that clapped. Oh, yes, so stunning and brave, except they don't spend money. They don't watch any of this. And now we're seeing it. We're seeing it. They hear closing thoughts. Whether Disney is going to correct its course is yet to be seen. And they're not going to, at least not for this next year, because again, this is a ship that's going to take, or a screeching semi that's going to take a long time for those brakes work. Even with its flops, the brand remains the most recognizable name in the entertainment industry. Yeah, but now for not any good reason. Families know what's up. The nerds know what's up. And it has committed itself so deeply to the woke liberal cause that it's difficult to imagine they would ever come back from that. In the meantime, their movies will continue to flop if they don't find a way to return to the Renaissance era or something remotely close to that. Yeah, stop pandering to that 0.4% of the world and go back to the 99%. Families, normal people, and offer audiences heartwarming, relatable stories rather than subtle and not so subtle tales of progressive politics. Yeah, again, this is the same thing with Star Trek and Star Wars and all of them and all of them. All of these things had classic, timeless messages, and yes, political messages sometimes, but they were classic political about tyranny and fascism, stuff like that. Not direct modern day social. I don't need to see Star Trek that's 200 years in the future and have some guy be lectured about pronouns. All right. That shit is resolved by then. And it's stuff like that. All right. They're taking modern day issues and putting them in timeless classics. That's not how that is supposed to work, because then they're not timeless, are they? Stop says, stop modern daying us. It's all it does is piss people off now. And that's fine. Works for me. I'm all about that Iron Age. Burn their house down. We'll build a new one, not let them in. But I do like Disney. I did. I'd love to go back to kick the activists out, which we're on our way to doing. Keep speaking with your money. And yeah, let me know what you think of this. Do you think we're winning? Are you ready for what's to come? Because it's going to get worse before it gets better. But we're starting to see chinks. The god that is Disney and woke we have seen blood. We know it is immortal and we can take it down. Remember, we are the great correction. All of us. We just want good storytelling again. We'll see you on the next one. Thank you if you have liked and subscribed, and thank you if you are going to. And if you haven't, if you hate me and you're just listening because, oh, this is overreaction, well, God bless you. See you on the next one.